said yourself, a bunch of grown men's crying. I won't lie to you, man. A tear almost came to my eye, brother. That was it was a special moment. I was glad we were able to all be a part of.
I didn't think that he would really say, you know what, I just want a fun final fight and I want to relive that past glory and just kind of do it in Asia, do it his way.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Happy retirement to the Korean zombie. Max Holloway puts on a stunning knockout effort. Round 3, UFC Singapore. He took out a legend, and that's what this game is about. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and welcoming me, as always, my co-host, Santa Fe Bomber, New Mexico native, AJ. Even a wash on the week, that's okay, but we had some fun, man. Had some legend fights, had some implications in the women's flyweight division. What were your takes overall?
Derick, even in a week that I thought would be a shake-up week for this competition we have going, brother, MMA math always, or even the MMA landscape, always proves to just kind of throw a little wrench in the plans, if you will. It was still an exciting night, brother. A bunch of knockouts, a bunch of crazy storylines. Like you said, it was a hell of a weekend for me, my man. How did you like the night?
Well, it's one where it's like you had a mass of grown men just crying, shedding tears, listening to the song Zombie play while the Korean zombie puts his gloves in the middle of the cage and announces a retirement. But I gotta say that at the end of the day, man, I couldn't have felt better because who puts it all on the line the way that Korean zombie did? Like, let's just address that real fast. Like, he straight up said, hey, you kind of took it easy on me when you thought I was knocked out and then you let me go. I'm gonna make you pay. He went full for blood. I mean, was it the right move, AJ?
I guess it depends on what you wanted the outcome to be, because was it the right move for the Korean zombie lore? Yes. Was it the right move to get the win? Not so much, but either way, I think it was a win for the Korean zombie nonetheless, man. Nothing like the Bushido way to go out on your sword, just like we were talking about. Korean zombie provided, and it made seriously one of the best end caps to a career I've ever seen, brother.
Well, that's what I'm saying right there. It's like the point of the memorable nature of it. He said it. He's like, I never achieved anything, which is a little harsh. I think it's mixed in translation too. It's more of, I never got the belt, right? But look at how much love that I'm getting from the fans, because he's kind of on like a Cowboy Cerrone-esque type, path right there where the people love him. Is he going to be a Hall of Famer? He just might, AJ. But we're going to talk all about that more in depth here in just one moment, folks. I want you to take a very quick look at the scoreboard below. Once again, even wash on the week, we're going to do a breakdown, a recap, 4-2 a pop from me and AJ. So without any further ado, let's talk about it. All right, so this is the board here, AJ. Lots of gold, not too much red, which is what we like to see, but we do need to address things really quickly. So we didn't really have the same picks, man. We had a lot of things that were up in the air. When I pull it back up again, the only Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, Max Holloway, Rinya Nakamura. That was actually it. So we went 2 for 2 on a Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. So that's awesome. AJ, I'm going to start off with my biggest lesson learned, and then I want you to follow suit. Parker Porter, man, kind of Ryan Spann-esque in the unpredictability of what he can get done. Never got the fight started. Now you've been knocked out by both Tafa brothers. I guess just don't bet Parker Porter against Tafa brothers. I guess that's what I learned. What did you learn here, AJ?
Over the whole weekend, Derick, I really learned that you can never count out anybody that's willing to step in the cage and swing them, whether it's Spann, whether it, like you said, even Junior Tafa, or even Taila Santos, man, Erin Blanchfield, that fight right there. There's a lot of things that we saw coming and happen out there on the cage, but then still had a different outcome than we were all expecting, brother. This was a fun one, and like you said, a bunch of picks that we were separated on still ended up on a wash. You gotta love when MMA math kind of does that stuff, because it really is full circle.
That's it. And then if we're going to talk a little bit about the accountability portion of this program, that's the prop locks. AJ, we did not do very hot this week. Both missed on them. Both misses in interesting ways. My miss was worse than your miss, so I'll at least give you credit there, right? Parker Porter, I thought we were a lock for a decision. Take Tafa down, wrestle him. Didn't work out. He got knocked out instead. My bad, folks. We're not going to go that route again. But AJ, Max Holloway decision. I got the trajectory. I got the idealism, but I did mention to you, if there's one spot for a finish, it's probably this one. What did you learn from that?
Man, we were banking a little too hard over here on the Korean zombie's iron chin, and sure enough, zombie went zombie mode, and bless Max Holloway had to go rule 1 of Zombie Land, hit him with the double tap. Didn't do it the first time, but that second one was just enough to actually put him out. This was one I felt like it was a big miss, but like you said, Derick, not as big as it could have been. But 5 rounds, you can't bank on Max Holloway not to get the finish anymore.
I mean, to be fair, Korean Zombie did kind of just say, listen, I'm going to get knocked out. You're going to get knocked out. Like, somebody's going to get knocked out here. So that's fair enough. All right, folks. So we're about to break down the entire main card, talk about some implications, talk about the states of the divisions, rankings review. You know the spiel. But before we get into that, I would like to ask you to hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't done so yet. Currently, as of this recording, AJ, I think we're at 655 subscribers, so we're making some good headway there, some good room in the forward direction. But in a couple sentences, not a long diatribe here, AJ, why should the people show some love and tell friends about the Bloody Water podcast?
Why you should show some love, folks, because we're here doing this week in and week out. And even on a week where Derick and I were split on a couple picks, whether you chose him or whether you chose me, you came out 4-2 on there. And let's say you did decide to mix them up a little. Hopefully you got that 6-0 dub. And if you did, make sure you leave it in the comments. And you need to share it with your friend, because why be a bad friend? If you're out here making money, your friends need to make some money too. Everybody's at the sports bar watching. Nothing better than a full table of people cashing in checks on the weekend. Make sure you share it with your friend, because you know where you're getting the best MMA coverage in the entire game, week in, week out, with consistency and accountability. What else do you want?
I mean, AJ, you also have to admit, being that guy that's at the sports bar that everybody's looking at you and asking you before the fight happens, hey, bro, which way should I go, man? Who are you rolling with on that one? It's a good feeling. You want to be that guy. And guess what? You don't even have to be that guy, that gal. You just have to listen to the Bloody Water podcast, and it will turn you into that. We got you. All right, AJ, they should subscribe. We should talk about some fights. Let's get it, baby.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. All right, my man, Max Holloway steps in against the Korean Zombie, and right off the bat, TKZ, he made it a firefight, and you could tell there was something a little bit different here. We were talking about the implications of maybe he goes D1 wrestler, maybe he says, let me take a smart approach to defeat Max Holloway to ensure himself a title shot, because at the end of the day, this was really a lose-lose for Max Holloway. Stunning knockout, but I mean, you were kind of supposed to do that. So my question to you based on that thought right there, man, is do you think Max Holloway was taken a little aback at first? Because he kind of looked like he was overwhelmed in that first round before he gained his composure and said, oh, Ricardo Lama's fight? Okay, let's get it. What do you think?
I do think he was taken back, Derick. I think Max Holloway expected Zombie to come out how he did in the third round from the jump and really kind of push the pace a little bit when it was kind of feeling each other out, not necessarily, the Zombie-esque style of fight. I do expect Max Holloway thought that he was like, okay, maybe he's going to take the calculated approach. We're going to have a little 5-round battle in here, a little technique-esque fight, if you will. But then whenever Max Holloway started to get into the flow state, started to really put the work in, dropped him in the second round, or maybe it was the third, I forget. But the first time Max Holloway dropped him, that's when you really started to see like, okay, I do need to get to work. I do need to put the emphasis on the power. And you saw what Zombie did coming out in the third, brother, going full force like that. And like Max Holloway said, he's lucky that his right hand landed before Zombie's, because either one of them was getting knocked out, brother. That was an absolute slugfest. Did you expect Zombie to come out full gas like that in the third, Derick?
No, I did not. Absolutely not. I didn't think that he would really say, you know what, I just want a fun final fight and I want to relive that past glory and just kind of do it in Asia, do it his way, man. And he did it. He did it Sinatra style. He did it absolutely his way. But that goes to show just the mentality of the type of fighter that he is. A lot of guys will say, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to put on a safe performance, rack up a victory, and then I'm going to sail off into the sunset. But I think it is very telling to say, I'm going to put something on for the fans, because that's what my duty is. That's what I have served here in this MMA community, a fan favorite, a always entertaining fighter. And listen, man, I don't have much to say on this matchup, given that the implications weren't too high based on what the fight turned into, right? I guess we just need to talk about, for Max Holloway's perspective here, man. First off, if you're Alexander Volkanovski, again, you're like Holloway, bro. You're beating all the guys that I even have a shot to maybe compete against someday. I don't know. Korean Zombie already beat him, right? I'm not saying that this is somebody that he was looking forward to fighting or something, but I do think that this is a spot where it's like, what does Holloway do here, bro? Like, what do we do for the duration of the time Alexander Volkanovski is champion? What is left for Max Holloway?
I think if you're Max Holloway, or at least in the Max Holloway camp, you start going the Jorge Masvidal route and you just start taking fun fights, brother. Yeah, I still think Max has a shot to get to the title again, get to the gold strap one more time, maybe even a couple more times. Who knows? It seems like the Blessed Express era is still not over, and he still has that gumption to be able to get to the gold. But I think for the meantime, man, while Volkanovski's champ, while you're not getting those shots, might as well take the money fight, man. Fill those pockets up, fill that bank account, and really start having some fun. And I do think this might have been the fight to have the catalyst. Seeing Korean Zombie get the ovation, get the respect from the crowd, man. Have his end cap of his career, like you said, in the Asian continent, in Thai, or where were the Singapore, and have the respect of the crowd kind of fulfills you up to be like, all right, people do really respect living the Bushido lifestyle, living that warrior lifestyle to really get the fight going. If Max Holloway kind of takes that approach, if you will, man, I could see him being another star, just like we have seen him be in the past, resurge, be on the top, whether the gold belt's there or not. What do you think?
I hear what you're saying, bro, but I think it's tough when I think of those comparisons because when Masvidal did that, he was like 35, 36. Holloway's 31. He hasn't even hit his prime yet, bro. He just got a lot of mileage on the tank. That's it. So that's where it's really hard to fathom that, man. You don't really want to see move up, move down. You know, I think he's perfect at the division that he's at. Long, lanky. It's just like Volkanovski, man. He's got to make a choice and be like, let me go up to, you know what I mean, 155, 145 for Max Holloway. Sorry, that's the weight class that we're talking about. I don't know, man. This is a tough situation. I feel like we address it every time that he fights because he doesn't look bad whatsoever. He doesn't look like he's lost a step. And now you come off of a stunning KO. Nothing but up from here for the Blessed Express, Max Holloway. And AJ, anything else on this one? Are you ready to move on?
Ooh, the only thing, Derick, I do want to make sure the fans of you, and you're watching this and you are not a fan of the Korean Zombie, go back, do your history, go watch, because he's one of the best entertaining fighters to go see. Even the Yair Rodriguez fight, man, I'm glad that Zombie was able to get his due respect out there in the Asian continents, because I really feel like that was the most he was going to get, as biased as us American and other country MMA fighters can be. I know China and the whole Asian continent's all over there give a lot of respect, so I'm glad it happened there, man. Because honestly, Derick, you said yourself, a bunch of grown men's crying. I won't lie to you, man. A tear almost came to my eye, brother. That was it was a special moment. I was glad we were able to all be a part of.
That's it, man. I will say the Korean Zombie is world-renowned. He's a loved figure through and through. And with that being said, man, big win for the Holloway, big win for Max Holloway. Happy retirement to the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung. All right, now let's move into some controversy here. AJ, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann, number 2. Not as nearly of an impactful fight as we kind of thought it was going to be. Was not a quick finish the way that it was the first go-around, but the difference that we saw this time is that when Ryan Spann lands, when he can actually put his fists on you, terrible consequences, right? Anthony Smith's eye gets all blood or black and blue puffed up right there. Could have been a broken orbital. Who knows? Almost gets him out of there. Ryan Spann was so close. But AJ, I think this is the story that we're seeing time and time again, which is why it's kind of hard to bet on Ryan Spann, is because he's very inconsistent to a degree. Both of these guys are, right? But in the sense of you had the finish there, and instead of attacking the finish relentlessly, he kind of mixed himself into some grappling, allowed Anthony Smith to regard, recover, and from there, it turned into a really close round 3. AJ, in that third round, did you have it 1-1, winner of the round 3 takes it all? Is that how you had it?
I did, Derick. This was an incredibly close fight. And to touch on what you were saying before about Ryan Spann, this was kind of the epitome of how his career is going. This fight right here, man, all he needs is a grazing left hand just to swell up an eye, like nonetheless. All the power in the world. And then you just take your foot off the gas. And maybe it could have been because in the last fight, he got starched pretty quick, got submitted. So maybe there was something in the back of his head saying, don't push too hard on this guy because he can finish me. Maybe that's there. But even that, man, like this was a rough one to watch for Ryan Spann because it was such a close fight. And even his expression at the end of the fight when the judges read out that Anthony Smith won this, wide-eyed like, how in the world? And you go back, you watch, it was a very close fight. I had it, like you said, Derick, 1-1 apiece, whoever wins the third. And honestly, it seemed like Ryan Spann had the biggest moments in the third round, but just did not want to push the pressure, did not want to push the pace. And maybe I'm wrong on this assessment, but tell me what you think, Derick. Was it the fact that he almost had Anthony Smith out, but then still wasn't able to finish, that the judges gave Anthony Smith a little more credit for staying in there? Maybe that had to come into play. I hope it didn't. I hope that's not the case. I hope they saw something else going on. But to me, Ryan Spann did have more of the bigger moments, but less of an output, which seems to be one of his kryptonites, if you will, for Superman Spann. What do you think, Derick?
I think you hit it on the head right there. Like, Ryan Spann had the big moments, but Anthony Smith had more moments. You know what I mean? And when I say moments, they weren't big moments. They're tiny moments, right? But like tiny moments compiled over 15 minutes adds up. So I do think that, like, in all honesty, man, as a Ryan Spann bettor, as somebody who was really banking on Ryan Spann winning, ultimately, the way that I saw it was Anthony Smith won 13 of the 15 minutes, kinda. You know what I mean? Ryan Spann had a couple of big moments, and in those big moments, did enough to sway some rounds, right? But the leg kicks that Anthony Smith was putting on Ryan Spann, which is almost crazy. It's like you see how Smith is getting debilitated by leg kicks, and then you don't think, well, if he throws them to me, I better be able to check a couple. Like we're not thinking that. That's just leg kicks in general across the board. But AJ, real quick, let's talk about that assessment that you had just mentioned right here. You know, I have to pull up the coveted MMA Decisions website, and then we need to talk about some of these scores. So the people who have it in the Smith camp are far and few in between. This is like 5 people, right? The rest of the MMA media scores see it for Ryan Spann. This one is kind of crazy. 29-27 Ryan Spann. I don't know about that, but I think that realistically, it was a close enough fight not to yell robbery. Like, right? Like, we're not over here upset like, oh my God, that was a robbery. But it was like, damn, super close fight. You should have did more, correct?
Very correct, Derick. Even the day of, excuse me, because this was a morning fight. I thought, I was like, maybe not robbery. I'm interested to see if Derick's going to be shouting out, hitting the horns for the robbery alert. Got to get the mask on, but no, man, it was not. It was a good fight. I do think the right man won, even though it was by a slim margin.
All right, well, plus 450 decision victory for Anthony Smith. Kind of a weird spot for both of these guys, man. In my rankings, I have them neck and neck. They're kind of neck and neck here, 8 and 10. But Ryan Spann, it's just like you're another step backwards, brother. Another step backwards. But big win by Anthony Smith. All right, AJ, the Giga Show has returned. Well, not quite. Giga Chikadze has definitely returned. The Giga Show, I think, has yet to quite arrive at the station yet here against Alex Caceres. Now, context that we know now that we did not know while watching it, Alex Caceres broke his arm like with the first kick that Giga threw in the fight. So he was compromised for 15 minutes. So we could have seen this fight play out a plethora of different ways. Either way, conservative yet tactful performance by Giga for a 30-27 decision victory across the board. How did you see it?
It's hard not to debate the surgical and tactical performance Giga Chikadze has, but even in his ability to stay calm against an opponent who's throwing wild shit at you, smiling at you when he tags you, and an ability to stay calm, stay composed, and stay within your realm, you got to give Giga that. Sure, it wasn't the highlight performances he was seeing. I do think the speed of Caceres had Giga just a little bit faltered, a little bit on the second step, a little bit second guessing himself. But other than that, man, Giga looked like he's the real deal. Again, he's back, and I'm kind of glad he did have to go through a 15-minute battle of sorts to kind of really get himself back in, get his feet wet again, back on the octagon, get himself feeling where he needs to be. I don't debate this one either. As a Alex Caceres bettor, I was upset at the loss. But I do think, again, the right man won. Not as close of a fight as it could have been, but there were moments from both, man. It depends on how you're looking at who's more entertaining. And obviously, Giga did do a little bit more damage. It did have the bigger moments, but still very, very fun fight. What did you take away, Derick?
Yeah, I don't think that this was a debatable fight at all. I had it 29-27 for Giga, so 2-1 for Giga. I did not particularly see 30-27, but it makes sense because if you watch it back, man, Giga was kind of knocking him all around the cage, bro. Like, Caceres just couldn't quite handle the power, and that's the thing. Giga does pack pop. He's got speed. But Caceres, man, he's wild. He's a wild man. And now it makes sense because what I was ready to do was to come on here and say, once again, we see a guy with a very clear path to victory who did not follow the path whatsoever. But when you break your arm, it's kind of hard to grapple. So, ideally, you're not going to try to wrestle somebody up and do something like that. Best shot is try to hit him with something crazy they don't see come and knock him out. But do you think that if Alex Caceres would have went a grappling route, that this fight could have played out differently?
Oh, 100%, Derick. Especially he crashes in on one of those big moves and then gets to the hips, takes him down, controls him. Even with the feints he was throwing where he was dropping him down just a little bit, changing levels, Giga was aware of it. So that thought was in his mind as well. It was the easiest path to actual victory for Caceres. I do think this would play out different if he was there. Do you think he's actually would be effective in that ground game? Because, we didn't get to see it at all, so.
I think Giga has an underrated grappling already, right? I just think that we needed to see it against a scrappy guy like Caceres. And I think more important than anything else is that Giga didn't really open up and show us what kind of the Giga Show preview was until the last couple seconds of the fight, man. In the last 5 seconds, he throws a rolling thunder kick on Caceres. And I was like, okay, remember when he fought Jamal Emmers, right? He did that same type situation. Like, he was opening up. That's what we didn't quite see. But my main point about talking about this matchup through and through was that Alex Caceres, I felt like, was more of the type of talent that he should be equipped against right now. And we saw, even though it was a compromised Caceres, Chikadze caused the compromised nature, but he was able to get past him. But it wasn't like a landslide the way that I think a lot of people would have thought. I think people were thinking he's going to just starch Caceres in the first round. It's over. This dude's on a different level. But do you have confidence right now that if you gave Giga a top 10 guy instead of a 15 to 10 guy, that he would have like very legitimate success here? Or do we think we're still in that middle ground?
At this moment, still getting back from Giga's long break to have his first fight, and I still have a little bit of hesitation to send him into the dogs, especially the top 5. But give him in that top 10, I do think he is on track to be there. And skill-wise, he's already past there, but there's something about getting his mental right, getting something back in there where he is on the Giga show. Because you're right, we didn't see it till the last couple minutes or last couple seconds of the fight till he really felt like, okay, I can let loose now. When he has that ability at the beginning of the fight where he feels he can let loose and have the star power he once used to have, then I would be a lot more confident in throwing him to the dogs. What about you?
I mean, listen, I think that you never know until it happens, right? Like, at the end of the day, we're going to see if he's ready once we put him up against the competition. But I do think that like a kind of slowish climb back to that upper echelon is probably the best move. Big win for Giga Chikadze. Takes a step back for Alex Caceres, man. But there's one thing, is that wins and losses do not define the man. It's about getting in there and performing. And if you want to talk about a performance, AJ, Rinya Nakamura, he put everybody on notice. He said, hey, listen, I am the full package. I can strike. I can wrestle. Fernie Garcia, very experienced. A dude right here who I really thought had a legit shot at that upset play. But AJ, I got to give you some credit. Everything you pretty much said in the pre-show came to fruition. The grappling was just simply too much. And Garcia couldn't do anything from being stuck underneath Rinya Nakamura. I will say the tenacity and the durability, the ability to just say, I will not quit. I will not get straight arm locked. I will not do any of that stuff. That was actually legitimately impressive. I don't know if you took note or not, but what did you think?
Oh, Fernie Garcia is a dog. I was telling you folks at the beginning in the pre-show, you cannot discount Fernie Garcia in this because he is an absolute dog. Even if it looks like he has given up on himself, he hasn't. He's just in there chilling, waiting for his opportunity. Yeah, the coach, screaming at him, doing all the stuff. Very pointed, but still, nonetheless, Fernie Garcia never quit on himself, which is one of the most impressive things you can do in a cage. Because if you got, Rinya Nakamura, this guy, like we said in the pre-show, Olympics level wrestler, has you in all kinds of positions, man, north, south, straight armbar, whatever it is. He was controlling, dominating you on the ground, and you still didn't give up. Took this dude full 15 minutes with what I think Nakamura had like 13 minutes of ground control time or some crazy shit like that. Like, this was a very impressive fight for Nakamura, as well as a very telling fight for Fernie Garcia in this one, man. You can no love lost, no shame lost to or no shame given to Fernie Garcia, I should say. Very impressive fight for both guys. A little more impressive for Fernie for not getting finished by Nakamura. That's the big one right there I want to talk about. Do you think the rest of the the boys in the back, the rest of the division has started to see a little hole in Nakamura because he wasn't able to finish Garcia, or do you think this was just purely Garcia being a dog?
No, I think this was Garcia being a dog. I think anybody who's followed Garcia's career knew that this would not be an easy out. And then Rinya Nakamura, even with his 9.5 minutes of control time in that fight, did say after the fight, hey, all respect to this dude. I tried to be the first guy to finish him. Let's not forget that. He even knew. He's like, I want to be the first guy to finish him. Couldn't quite get it done, but he'll get it done the next go round. And I imagine that he will. Listen, the context behind this bout is everybody was smashing under 2.5 rounds on this guy. Everybody was smashing the minus 135 TKO or going to be an early finish prop. Like, everybody on Twitter, everybody, that was the play, like fight day before the fight, stuff like that, right? That's the thing though, man. Plus 400 decision, you would have made out fat right there if you would have understood the context behind Fernie Garcia is not an easy guy to get out of there, man. You have him in the worst positions and he will not quit on himself. But that poses the question here, AJ, 0-3 in the UFC. Do we see Fernie Garcia again grace the octagon?
Yes, I do, Derek, because of the grit and determination. That's what Uncle Dana likes. Uncle Dana likes people who are willing to step in there whenever, and do the job that's at hand. Fernie Garcia is that company man, but hopefully they give him something a little bit better, man. A little, maybe a layup if they can. I don't see that happening for Fernie Garcia, though. I do think they're going to give him another up-and-comer that's just an absolute dog. If he loses this next one, then I don't think we're going to see him anymore. But you never know. Fernie Garcia, like I said, you can never discount a guy who is willing to do whatever it takes, whenever it takes, and he's an absolute dog when he does.
This is the second decision victory win for Rinya Nakamura in his career. I think, if anything, he's just showing to people I'm not a one-trick pony and that I can actually do this. In my opinion, this is the next big prospect out of Japan. We already have a fun one on deck, but this is going to be the next one, Rinya Nakamura. Do you agree, or do you think that it's too early to say he's the next guy?
If we're saying that he's the next guy always, like above everybody else, I would disagree with you, Derek, but he is the next prospect out of Japan that will be kind of making the leap over into the main stage. It's kind of hard sometimes for these fighters from different countries to really make a big splash, especially in the American scene. Whether that's American culture, whatever it is. But now I do think there's a couple people, you have the Ian Garys, you have now the Rinya Nakamuras. You have a lot of these people that are finally getting the shine they deserve. And I do think he'll be the next Japanese star.
I think it's Tatsuro Taira, Rinya Nakamura. And they could even out here depending on the success of both fighters in the near future. So that's my bet right there. I'm really hyped up on Rinya Nakamura. Big win. Hopefully we do see Fernie Garcia again. But with that being said, let's move on to the highest stakes of any fight on the main card. Erin Cold-Blooded Blanchfield, Taila Santos. This was a close fight, AJ, and we learned a lot. I learned a lot here. I also understand now why they buried it so far, because while it was a fun fight, this was not by means your co-main event. You know what I mean? Either way, Taila Santos, man, lots of hype coming off of that Valentina Shevchenko loss that people are questioning, air quotes and all that. Blanchfield, lots of momentum. What did you learn here in a nutshell? Erin Blanchfield, Taila Santos.
Erin Blanchfield has a lot more power than I was expecting, man. Has a lot more pop on her shots, has more speed, and as much as we were giving her kind of a little bit of razz, if you will, on her striking abilities, once I saw Taila Santos throw in that clubbing right hand because she wasn't able to actually straight up punch, and Erin Blanchfield saw it, move, duck, she has a lot more technique than I was giving her credit for personally. That right there, to me, showed leaps and bounds in the ability she has to continuously keep growing. And if she just continues that exact path, man, she's going to be very dangerous here in the next couple fights. What was your big takeaway?
Erin Blanchfield, at this point now, does not need to secure a takedown to win fights against the upper echelon of the women's flyweight division. That's my biggest takeaway right here. Now, when we talked about her striking, I said specifically it was a little Ben Askren-esque, right? Ish, I guess you should say. And I don't take that back. I still do believe that. When you watch the technique behind it, it doesn't look beautiful, but we never said it wasn't effective. The striking is effective, especially when she did it time and time again. Blitz in, strike into clinch engagement, and then start working for takedowns, or worst case scenario, kind of take that Yana Kunitskaya approach of just beat him up against the cage, clinch him up, and then earn your victory that way. She did it, but Taila Santos did do a great job of reversing position a couple of times, getting that top control as we saw. I think the real thing here, man, is that once again, the big ham hock fists of Taila Santos and the big power, there was not enough volume behind that power to really edge out a close victory. And a lot of people would agree here that it kind of came down to cardio, it seemed like. Blanchfield was just the fresher fighter at the end. What do you think?
Fresher fighter, and with all the ham hocks that Taila Santos was throwing, I do think that depleted the gas tank a lot, because you saw round 3, man, Erin Blanchfield really started to push the pace, really started to take over, and there was that 1,000-yard stare coming out of the Santos side that really kind of pushed this one over the edge, where it wasn't the best Taila Santos fight. I mean, you go 5 rounds with the champ and almost get a dub, and then you come back and you can't last 15 minutes. Maybe it was because she thought it was the 15 minutes. She was like, oh, I can dump my gas tank, get this girl out early. When you think that, when you're fighting for a finish, I forget who said, I think it was Bisbing, but if you're fighting for a finish, you're never going to get the decision. And that was this, man. Erin Blanchfield showed that she can stay composed, stay calm, deliver what she needs to do to get her in the best position she can and get the dub. What can you say?
That's right, man. When you look at total strikes, 119 for Blanchfield, edged out Taila Santos by about 20 strikes or so. A little bit closer when it comes down to the significant strike differential. But this is the elephant in the room, AJ. I said it was a good thing, but we do need to address it. 0 for 14 on takedowns. Like, that's not good at all. Taila Santos does have a really good takedown defense, really good takedown defense, but 0 for 14 on your takedowns. What does that mean to you when we're talking about championship aspirations?
That's an interesting question, Derick, because 0 for 14 on the takedowns, just off with zero context, sounds absolutely abysmal. But against Taila Santos and with the takedown defense she has, and when she was able to actually scoot all of Erin Blanchfield's arms above her hips and spread her legs wide, do all the stuff you're supposed to. It doesn't, at least for me, doesn't bode as horribly as it could have for Erin Blanchfield going forward, because I don't think a lot of, the upper echelon for sure, the top 5, they have great takedown defense, but I do think she can work her way past that. And to me, what it shows is that possibly Erin Blanchfield was working or focusing a little bit more on her striking and her foot placement, her footwork, getting inside where she needs to, and that's where she had her best success. I don't know, though, because having Taila Santos on the ground, she is very, very dangerous. And when she did, she was even throwing up a couple submission attempts. So maybe it was just Erin Blanchfield being a little bit, but 0 for 14, you know how much gas tank that actually has to go for that many takedowns. I'm sure you do, Derek. You know better than most, especially better than me. That takes so much effort in going. So it does speak volumes that she was able to keep up the pressure. But you want the gratification. You're going for all that work. You want to be able to get her down. So what does it bode for you, at least for the future of Erin Blanchfield?
To be fair, not all of those takedowns came with the intention of taking Taila Santos down, so you have to factor that into the equation. I think more than anything is that if we can see a touch more of an improvement on the cardio, like give me a little more cardio, give me a little more output, then what's the difference between this and Merab's fight versus Petr Yan? It's like the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, he went like 2 for fucking 20 on his takedowns or something like that. So 0 for 14 isn't as terrible as it looks when you put it in context. I just think that it's something that we need to watch out for when we're talking about championship aspirations. So final question, then we move on. Was this win enough to get Erin Blanchfield a title shot?
No, unfortunately not. I do think it's enough to get her in the conversation, Derek, in the mix. If she would have finished Taila Santos, then everybody's screaming from the mountaintop. Blanchfield is the one to go. But I do think we're gonna need to see somebody falter in one of these matches to where it's like, Valentina gets submitted. Well, shit, if that girl did it, Blanchfield can easily do it. That's what I think we need to see. Or maybe Blanchfield put some hands on somebody, get her a knockout, get some kind of dominating performance in order to actually be able to elevate her to the championship mode. Do you see it the same way as me, or you seen gold around Blanchfield?
No, I think she gets a title shot, bro. Who else is left? There's nobody left. It's literally Shevchenko, Grasso, Blanchfield. Like, there's nobody left. Unless you skip Blanchfield and give Santos another shot or give somebody down the road. And like, that doesn't make sense. So if Sean Strickland can get a title shot against Adesanya, I would imagine Erin Blanchfield is up next, depending on if it's a really close fight, Shevchenko versus Grasso. Who's to say they don't go for a trilogy fight? You never want to hold up the division. Big win by Erin, cold-blooded Blanchfield. All right. And now the first bout of the fight here, AJ. This was your prop lock of the night, so this was not your prop lock of the night, but it might as well have been. You said Junior Tafa. There's only one way for my man to win, so congratulations to you either way. Listen, man, he looked sharp. This knockout looked better than Justin Tafa's knockout, and all that I can say is that you better be able to close the distance on this man and get him on his butt, because if you can't, knees, elbows, big right hands, you're going to eat it. And Parker Porter got rocked like 5 times before the show finally closed. And AJ, this fight lasted all of like a minute, so... impressions, what do you think?
Don't fuck with the Tafa gang, brother. Junior Tafa said it himself. I mean, those are some bad boys. And what I like most about Junior Tafa, Derek, is he throws everything with bad intention. Even his little jabs he's using to gauge distance, they still hurt. He still has some sting on him. He's still throwing them to hurt you. And you better be able to get inside that range and get him down, because that's really what we need to see next for Junior Tafa. Yeah, he has the composure, the calmness to him. He has the big old mallets in his hands, but now we need to see how he does whenever he's taken down and held down, if he's able to actually, compose himself then. When he's in deep water, when he's in those bloody waters getting elbows thrown down on him, that's what we need to see Junior Tafa go for, and actually to see him climb the ranks a lot like this, because admittedly, obviously to us hardcores, Parker Porter, he's a dog. He's a savage. We've seen him time and time again be time-tested and succeed in some, fall in some, but always have a hell of a fight. But to the casuals, Parker Porter isn't the biggest name. So therefore, it doesn't propel Junior Tafa up the rankings very much at all, if any. So we need to see him fight somebody who's going to put him in the situations to actually make his growth more manageable. What do you think, Derek? What was one of your big takeaways from this fight?
I don't have any, bro. Just a Junior Tafa is a bad man. He's not the bad man. That's Justin, right? But he is the juggernaut. That's absolute. Yeah, I just really think, man, it's hard. It's going to be continuously hard to bet for him, knowing that there's such a deficiency if he's able to get taken down. But when we start betting on that big if, and that if becomes further and further away from an actuality, how do you not bet on him knocking these guys out left and right? You know what I mean? So it's like one of those live by the sword, die by the sword type scenarios that we kind of constantly fall into. But you would agree, on paper, there was nothing that indicated that Parker Porter shouldn't win this fight aside from him getting knocked out before the fight got going, right?
There was one option for Tafa to win and multitude for Parker Porter to win, and that right hand's land, bro.
Exactly. So with that being said, big win by the Juggernaut Junior Tafa. AJ, that was the main card breakdown, folks. So if you like what you just watched, then absolutely subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. And let's talk about some prelim action, a couple of the sleepers that we had on here. All right, my man. So when we're breaking it down, I guess maybe I should show my screen. There we go. All right, man. Let's take a look at what we have here. Sorry, let me get that out the way. There we go. All right, man. So Waldo Cortes-Acosta, this is the first fight that I wanted to talk about here, AJ, because I thought this was going to be a fun one, but we know Salsa Boy likes to get in his bag, do his thing, move his feet, and then hit him with the occasional pop, dip on out. He didn't do that this time, man. He was throwing with bad intention against Dretzky, apologies. But either way, my man gave us a knockout of the year right there. And it wasn't the knockout, it was the way that my man fell, right? He face planted, head butted the canvas floor. This was arguably the statement victory that Waldo Cortes-Acosta needed here. And given that he's been so active as of late in his very short UFC tenure, I think this man is in for nothing but just like upward trajectory. What do you think?
I couldn't agree with you more, Derek. This was the statement that Waldo Cortes-Acosta needed, because previously in all his other fights, everybody was calling him a showman. Everyone was calling him, oh, he's just flashy, doesn't have the power. you say that enough, you piss off the man, and he comes in and puts on a whooping in 3 minutes. And like you said, knockout of the year, sends the guy into the shadow round face first. This was one of the ones, bro, you got to watch out for Cortez, man, or Cortes-Acosta, excuse me, because he's going to be on a destructive path going forward if you keep sleeping on this guy.
And it's when he decides to actually commit to his shots too, right? Because it's easy to pop, evade. But if this dude pissed him off, man. Like something happened behind that we don't know. He must have upset him to a point where he's like, listen, it's time. You get knocked out. All right, man, let's move on to the next one. My sleeper. I guaranteed you guys violence. It just did not come from the corner that I expected it to come from. Mikhail Oleksichuk. He gets the TKO victory against Chidi Njokuani. And once again, we saw an incredibly fast start from Bang Bang Chidi Njokuani. Just wasn't able to keep it up, man. And the thing about Oleksichuk is that you got to kill that man to get him out of there, or else he will be in your face and he will not let up for 15 minutes. I did not take that into account when I placed my wager on Chidi Njokuani. I probably should have, but you got to admit, those knees to the body, those knees up top, the elbows, would have probably put out a lot of guys not named Mikhail Oleksichuk. What do you think?
It's rough because I was trying to think of what does Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani need to do to really solidify himself in the mix, man? How does he get past a guy like Oleksichuk and keep going? Well, he has to have the power, he has to have the speed, he has to throw, like you said, man, knees of the bodies, elbows up top. He had a great performance, man. You can't really take much away from him. Besides, you have to kill Oleksichuk. That is literally it. That's the only way. And even if you try to take Oleksichuk down, he's a hell of a wrestler too. So there's not much you can really say bad against this fight, except sometimes a guy's got your number, and it seems like the style of Oleksichuk and the mental fortitude he has really did it in for Chidi.
I think the thing too is that Njokuani is such a fast starter, he tends to fade out a little bit towards the end of the round. And if you give everything you got on somebody and then they don't go away and you're like, fuck, I'm tired. I don't know if I can do this for another 2 minutes. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it goes. And there was only about 50 some odd seconds left in the fight before he got finished. So big win by Mikhail Oleksichuk. We say it all the time. You just cannot sleep on that guy, right? All right, man. Let's take a skip on over. Yusaku Kinoshita, man. He's coming off of a interesting performance. And a lot of people really thought, man, in this fight, this is going to be the guy, right? This is going to be the guy that's going to be starching everybody. And he looked good, man. He looked good against Billy Goff until he didn't, until he caught the body shot. And that'll put away anybody. But before that, we can't disregard that, but we'll come back to that. Before that, this kid has legitimate prospect to nature, right? He has a lot of hype and hope and all that good stuff, correct?
speed, talent, the fans behind him coming out of Japan, man. You know, the Kinoshita has a lot. That's actually why I made this fight my sleeper, man. A bunch of finishes, a bunch of first-round finishes, willing to go in there, toe the line, and actually get down with the big dogs. And you saw it right here, man. He looked good. He looked like he was good. Like I said, speed, everything's working out well. You eat one to the liver. It is what it is. Sometimes the bread box can't handle it. And if you've ever been hit there or you've ever been hit in the body at all, you know how bad it actually hurts where you can't just put your hands up. So credit to Billy Goff, bro. We even said it, Derek. That if when we showed the Tapology report at the pre-show, a lot of people were betting on Kinoshita. But about 70% of everybody who was betting had a knockout coming, and that's why this was a sleeper, folks. And that's why you need to tune in, man. I'm telling you from the jump, you need to watch these sleeper fights. The stars of tomorrow are fighting today and getting knockouts about 4 minutes into a fight.
That's right. This was a fantastic performance by Billy Goff. 2 comeback victories as of late right here. And for Kinoshita, this is 2 first-round stoppages. So not a good thing for him, but he needs a bounce-back victory in his next one, and hopefully he gets it. Other notable performances, JJ Aldrich gets the TKO over Liang Na. So, that kind of sucks because Liang Na is a fun fighter, and now it's just, once again, we got to get a win on the board. And then Sting Choi, he gets back into good form against Jarno Aarons. Decision victory, clean left hooks in the pocket. You got to love it from Sting. Only other fight that we did not mention is Song Kanang gets the upset victory against Rolando Bedoya, which was actually really cool to see. And then Toshiyama Kazama gets a finish. A lot of people called it a little bit early, but Garrett Armfield was able to get the finish. AJ, we had mentioned this is a card that a lot of people probably didn't know a lot of these people. You know what I mean? They're legitimately like, this is the first time I've heard any of these names, never seen these guys. And people, the casuals, are probably like, oh, why would I even watch this fight? Why would I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever the case may be? Next week, we have a similar card, right? It's going to be a lot more of our French and European scene. But this is the times we need to pay attention, right? Because this is the first time you hear it for a lot of people. But these are, once again, the stars of tomorrow. The guy, Cyril Gane, was one of these guys before he was Cyril Gane, right? So what do you have to say to the people who tune in or are like, next, I don't care. I just want to hear about Max Holloway. I don't care about any of the other fighters. What do you think?
Well, all I gotta say, folks, take this as a learning lesson. If you didn't see any value waking up, 7 in the morning, at least for me here over on the Central Time Zone. But if you didn't see any value waking up, watching these fighters, but you're still willing to put money on somebody that just has a name, you need to pay attention. You need to wake up, because these are the fights that are going to be making you the most money, because nobody knows what they're talking about on these ones, man. Obviously, right over here, your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. We do the work so that way you don't have to. So that way you can go into the bar, go in, talk big, make big money, and then walk out like the big dog who just filled his pocketbook. That's what we're here to do for you. And that's why you need to pay attention to these kind of fights. Everybody loves the pay-per-view fights. Everybody knows those names. Everybody's the professional. Everybody's the expert on those ones. But they're not winning the money consistently week in, week out. And especially on fight cards like this, you can win now when we're telling about them, when all these people are unknown, and continuously winning when each time these new fighters keep coming back week after week. Like we said, we're here for you. We're doing the work. We're getting you the money. All you got to do is just leave a comment, pass it to your friend, make sure they hit subscribe. Let's go win all that money together. And that's why you need to be paying attention to these fights, folks.
That's right. Couldn't have said it better myself. So take AJ's advice, listen up, and let's move on to a rankings review, where today, AJ, the rankings that we need to discuss here is actually going to be a division that is wide open. Today, I want to talk about the men's 205-pound division. Imagine if they had a woman's 205-pound division. We'd have some monsters in there in all of the best ways possible. But let's talk about this division right here, man. Ryan Spann, you can see he's the man who's highlighted on my rankings, at least here. AJ, it looks like you probably need a slight rankings update here, but it's pretty much where we need to be, right? I have Ryan Spann at 9. Officially, he's at number 10. You have him at number 10. I had Smith at 10. You have Anthony Smith at number 8. And then that's where the UFC has him as well. So we're all kind of in consensus here. We're more or less in line with the consensus picks. My question here is that given this wide open division that we have, where you have two guys who literally just gave up their championships without being defeated. So those are literally the top of the hill right there. Ankalaev, super duper close to being at the pinnacle. Alex Paeta has now claimed his shot. Jan Blachowicz, Rakic needs to come back. Krylov, Walker. It seems like Ryan Spann and Anthony Smith, even given the wins and losses respectively, are just kind of out of the mix right there. Would you agree? Excuse me.
No, I would agree with you, because it's funny, like you going through all those names, right? Johnny Walker, Jan Blachowicz, Nikita Krylov can fall into the category as well, but Rakic for sure. All of these fighters kind of lost a lot of steam within the last half year to a year. So really, it is wide open because even at the top, you have Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska, both of them have given up their championship. You have the dark horse Magomed Ankalaev, who arguably could be the champion right now, but nobody cares. Like nobody wants him there. Nobody's asking for it. And then you have Paeta, who is just the cash cow now of the 205-pound class. So I think for sure Alex Paeta is going to be in the mix, obviously. Then whoever of those top two are going to be fighting. I hope Magomed gets his shot. But if you look at it, like basically from Rakic below, they're just in limbo. Like nobody, there's no moves to be made, which is the craziest part because there's so many fighters that we just listed from 1 to 10, but no actual path to victory, no actual light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. Where do you see either one of these fighters really jumping up to or moving or shaking or whatever the case may be?
I don't, man. That's the thing. I don't see any path right here. I just think that all the guys who are next in line, like Hill and Prohaska, get special treatment regardless because they never lost, right? Ankalaev is next. Paeta, he's going to be, as you mentioned, cash cow. So entertainment value, you have to put him on these cards and give him opportunities. Jan is just a staple. Eventually, he'll retire, right? 40 years old. Rakic, once he comes back, he'll come back and be like, well, look, all you guys, that were fighting for the belt, I could beat all you guys. I just think that if we're talking about respective title runs, these guys got to go on a crazy run. And you got to beat some of these guys. And if you can't beat some of these guys, then, it's just not looking good. So with that being said, man, that's a 60-second rankings review. The light heavyweight division is in trouble, man, just because we have not been able to keep a champion. Will we ever return to the days of a John Jones-esque run where he just have one person dominating the division?
Ooh, maybe if Paeta really starts to get on his horse, brother. But I don't think so. I think nowadays people are too talented, too well-versed, too multi-dimensional to just not be able to, put up a competition and have the glory runs of the old days. What do you think?
That's right. No, man, I don't see it. There's got to be a very specific type of fighter, and I think of any of the guys there, believe it or not, and I know I've been saying it for a while, Magomed Ankalaev. You have to have that style, man, where it's not the most exciting. It's just to the point. Ensure victory, right? And even then, we saw, can you quite ensure your victory in some of these fights? It's hard to do it against Jan Blachowicz, clearly. All right, man, with that being said, that is your UFC Singapore breakdown through and through. Folks, you should definitely catch us on Friday for this week's preview show of the UFC Paris card, man. This is going to be a fun one. Lots of people that people have been wanting to see. For an example, AJ, let me just give a super brief rundown and see a couple of these names. Rose Namajunas, Manon Fiorot. That's going to be a big one. We have Benoit Saint-Denis versus Thiago Moises, another fun one. William Gomez, he's coming back. Let's see who we got. Taylor Lapalus, that's going to be a fun one. Angelusa versus Reese McKee. I like that one. Farid Basharat, Cledson Rodriguez. Come on, man. We got bangers on deck. So this is definitely a card you should tune into. AJ, any last words for the people?
Folks, this next week is a card you should tune into, and take this week as a learning lesson. Whether you're betting with me, whether you're betting with Derek, we are filling your pocketbooks. We're your favorite fighters' favorite fight show for a reason, because we're here week in, week out, winning y'all money and giving you the best insider information you can get over here on YouTube. Don't go anywhere else because you don't need it. They're going to lead you astray. Stay right here. Welcome to Bloody Water Fam, man. We are back again. And this next week's going to be a lot of fun. So like Derek said, tune in on Friday. And as always, you see the links down below. Go hit us on all of our platforms. Get the inside scoop before anybody else does, so that way we can fill your pocketbooks even quicker.
That's right. All right, folks, that is it for us. Catch us on Friday for the UFC Paris preview show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Subscribe, all the fun stuff. Until next time. Peace.